All right, everyone, welcome back to A Plus Parents. And yeah, all I can tell you is get ready for one of the most exciting episodes we're ever going to have. Let's just roll into it. Are you ready? Check this out.
So Kate is helping you with an Avengers level threat?
He's my partner.
It's kind of a stretch. I made a lot of powerful enemies. I can't go home until I fix it.
We're in this together, right?
We need a ton of trick arrows.
Gotta show me how you make those.
Marvel Studios' Hawkeye, first 2 episodes streaming November 24th.
So what you're hearing in the background, Disney has a new show coming out called Hawkeye. And if you could hear the music in the background, the music was completely created and made by our guest today. His name is Brent Daniels, and he's with Brent Daniels Music. So Brent, welcome to the podcast and A Plus Parents.
Thank you, Mr. D. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. And just so your audience knows, and they might know because they've seen it, that show is on Disney Plus right now, so you can watch all the episodes. Now,
you know, I mean, I've seen the Ted Lasso thing. That's about as far as I got on Disney Plus, and then I don't get to watch it very often, right? So,
that one's on Apple Plus. So there's there's so many.
One. Yeah,
you got to keep up, man. There's so many stuff,
right?
So many streaming services. I know, right? Like I can't even keep up.
Okay, so I think back to Disney Plus. So there was a thing on Disney Plus, like my favorite movie, one of my favorite Disney movies is got The Rock in it, Dwayne Johnson, and it's called I think it's called Return to Witch Mountain or Escape from Witch Mountain is one of those, right? Anyway, but I'm a fan of The Rock, right? So that's on Disney. I did see that, so that's funny. And National Treasure's on there too, so I had seen that. But
a lot of Disney content, and Disney owns Marvel now and Lucasfilm, so Star Wars, Marvel, and I'm a music producer that makes music for Disney and Marvel for their trailers for movies, TV shows, and games too. Video games.
That's so great. And that's what we're going to focus on. So, first it's like, I kind of feel like I'm with I'm with a rock star, right? Which is kind of fun to hang out with you. And we've had a chance to talk a few times. So I love what you're doing, and you're doing programs for young people. So we want to kind of let our audience know what you're up to, what you're doing. But I know, one of the things that, I remember when I was in school, and I'm an old time trumpet player, right? And I started playing when I was, 11 years old, right? And that's what I wanted to do in my life was play music, right? Well, kind of back in my day, we didn't get to really go that route. We ended up doing different things. And here I am today. Thank goodness I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Because I'm an okay trumpet player. But I think about it, and I think about people that pursue music as a career, and you've done that, and you've done that in your life. And I look out today and, for our young people that are interested in that, to give them opportunities to find their way into the music industry as you've done in working with, people like that, working with Marvel and working with putting together these music trailers that you've done, which is so cool. We wanted to kind of give people a little bit about your background, how you got into all that today. And, and then you can, and if people are seeing the video portion of this right now, they can see all the cool toys you got hanging out there in your studio, which will be awesome. But probably the best thing is, and feel free, kind of play along as we're going, right? But if you look at like how you got into the music business itself, like what got you started? Kind of like, there's like you ended up in music trailers and that as kind of your marketing, what you do, and you're so good at it, right? But how'd you get in the music business in the first place? Like what got you there?
Yeah, and so making music for movie trailers and TV trailers and video game trailers is we'd say like a lane of, it's really more advertising in the entertainment industry than the music industry. But I started in the music industry as a recording artist. I was lucky enough to get signed to a record label many years ago. That's how my career kind of kick-started. But along the way, like a lot of adults who in their career, they shift focus on their career and they move to different lanes, or maybe they move to an area that they find that they really enjoy more, for example. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing in your life should be something you love to do. That's my theory. And the happiest people I know, it's their theory as well. Do what you love to do, and it'll never feel like you're working, is an old adage. So I having started in the industry as a recording artist, eventually through this circuitous path, kind of weaving back and forth like people do, going from lane to lane, trying to find the thing I like the most, and ultimately that I think was a good use of my skill set that I'd been developing over many years. I ended up working on the trailer side of movies because it's a really great way for me to bring together some of my strengths as a recording artist, as a music producer, and a sound designer and a musician. And it's also just something that's so much fun to do. A lot of the music I was making as a recording artist was very cinematic sounding anyway. It was kind of like I had a band that was kind of like a dark pop act, as you'd probably call it nowadays. And at the time, we were doing a lot of very cinematic sounding stuff and a lot of sound design, stuff that might come out of technology like, synthesizers and samplers and drum machines, and maybe sounds that, are a little more cinematic and textural and stuff that you might hear in a film score. So that kind of sound works really well for music for trailers. Like in that Hawkeye trailer, there's some like rock elements to and electronic pop elements to some of the sounds that are being used, like sounds that you get from like a synthesizer here. That if you're listening to the podcast, you're hearing a synthesizer that I'm playing on screen here in my studio. But there's also a lot of sounds in a trailer like that are sounds I just had to create from scratch. Let me show what I mean. Mr. D, let's say, can you tell me something? You play the trumpet, say, I like to play the trumpet.
I'd like to play the trumpet.
So what I just did is I just sampled your voice into my sampler here. I've got this set up with our remote session here so that
I'd like to play the trumpet.
So that I can record your voice in real time to this sampler.
I'd like to play the trumpet.
This is called sampling, and this is something that I do in my virtual music assemblies I do with students like yours, which we can talk about in a minute. But what I've done here is sample your voice to this key.
I'd like to play the trumpet.
Now I can play you on the key. I can transpose the pitch of your voice.
I'd like to play the trumpet.
If you're listening to this podcast, what I'm doing is playing back Mr. D's voice down the keyboard now.
I'd like to play the trumpet.
And if I want to maybe take that sound and use it as a source to create a new piece of sound, maybe I want to create a piece of sound design for a trailer that I'm working on, the music for it, or maybe maybe students that you're listening. Maybe one of you is interested in making sound effects for a video game or a movie. That's a different lane. Like I'm in the music production and composition lane for music for trailers, but you could also be a sound designer that's making sound effects for Roblox or Fortnite or any other game on any platform, or maybe you're making the sound effects for a Marvel movie. These are all different jobs that you can get that use these similar skills for different purposes. And in this case,
I'd like to play the trumpet.
I got Mr. D here. Let's try something here. Let's do something non-musical with your voice, because we could play it musically. Like I could take like
I'd like to play the trumpet.
Let me move into this sound a little bit.
Play.
There's the word play.
Play the trumpet.
Let me find a different syllable. That's
Like to play the
there. That word like. That's kind of a tuned note. Let me tune that up a little bit. Let's put some space around your voice. Let's use something called reverb. Reverb is the sound of your voice or something in your environment bouncing off the walls. That gives you kind of basically an echo. There we go. So now I'm playing your voice musically. So we could definitely play music with that. Why? What are we doing here? So we're using it as a musical source right now.
Like to play the trumpet.
But we could also use it as a sound design source. So
like to play the trumpet.
Let's take this sound. Let me just trim this here, and I'm going to loop this sound. A loop is a repeating element. So anything that's repeating over and over again is looping. It could be a beat that repeats. Like this is an old Led Zeppelin beat. That's a loop. It's just playing over and over again. But we could also make Mr. D like Led Zeppelin. Students are like,
there you go, right?
Students are like, what's Led Zeppelin? So
like to play the trumpet.
But we can make a loop out of your voice here. So
like to play the trumpet.
Let's take this and just trim the front of this. And I'm going to make a loop out of it. So your sentence is going to repeat.
Like to play the trumpet. Like to play the trumpet. Like to play the trumpet.
Now I'm going to loop just the word like. So let's just move in a little bit here. Like
to play the
I'm moving the end of the loop towards the beginning of the loop, but now we're getting the word like repeating. It doesn't even sound like a word anymore. Now we're getting into sound design. design. Sorry, I'm pointing at you. Now we're getting into sound design. I pointed again. I'm going to keep doing it. Let's make it a little shorter. That's great. Even shorter. So now we're starting to get this kind of a buzzing tone. The shorter we make it, the more of a tone it's creating, and the higher the pitch. Let's go even shorter. Dude, now this sounds like an engine to me. Now it don't even sound like a human. It sounds like something robotic. So now I'm modulating, which means to change. I'm changing the loop duration, how long it's looping. And by doing that, and let's play lower too. Let's try it down, maybe here. By changing this loop duration, we're moving the pitch up and down. Now this doesn't even sound like you're talking about a trumpet. It sounds like what? Well, it depends on the context. If you put this up with an image like in a game, it might tell your brain, oh, hey, that's not a human at all. That is maybe it's like an engine. In fact, yeah, let's bend the pitch of this sound a little bit here. I'm gonna use this little wheel here, which allows me to change, to bend the pitch. And I'm gonna bend it just a little bit and use a filter here to do this. So now we're kind of getting to like a little electronic engine sound. Doesn't sound at all like a, yeah, I mean, if you're, and that doesn't sound like a real car. If you want a real car, you can just record cars. But if you're making a game like Mario Kart, maybe for like the Nintendo Switch, that sound, yeah, if this is like Yoshi's car, it should not sound like a real car engine. It should sound like a little cute, maybe like higher, like maybe up here, like here we go. Yeah. That's definitely like a little go-kart electronic Yoshi car. And we just made that out of a word you said. That's sound design, and that's part of my job as a music producer before, just making pop songs with electronic sounds. But now it's also something that I bring into the music that's in the trailer. That was a long answer, but we covered a lot of territory, my friend.
And you know what? Here's great, right? All I said was I like to play the trumpet, right? And it turned into, man, now I'm Yoshi in Mario Karts. I'm like, yes.
We turned you into it. Let's focus on that. We use skills, and I'm using skills that are learnable skills that you can learn in school. Skills in math, science, problem-solving skills, an understanding of how sound works. You can learn about that in physics class. Some musicality, if you want to put this into a musical context. I'm using piano playing skills. These are all skills that you can develop. I mean, I grew up liking sound and music, but I didn't know about any of this stuff when I was 12, which is about when I started playing an instrument too.
Wow, that's great. Well, I wanted to ask you that too, because we look today, and by the way, I know people are already going like, who is this guy, right? So this is Brent Daniels from Brent Daniels Music. So make sure you put the word music at the end of Brent Daniels.
Well, yeah, that's my website.
Photography shop, right? So
yeah, there's a
music, right? .com.
Yeah.
And we're going to tell you something really special about what Brent's doing, and we're going to do something for our students. So if you're just kind of hang in there and get ready, because we're going to give you a big announcement about that. But Brent, when you just mentioned when you were 12, right? You didn't have access to these things. And
no.
So you probably knew at a young age that music was your passion. It's what you wanted to do. And I love that you said that, we're doing what we love to do, because it doesn't seem like work, right? I mean, to me, it's like somebody's like, are you working right now? Like, no, I haven't worked in a few years. Like, yeah, but no, I have a career, right? But I don't consider it work. I'm just having fun. So, you think back then and you've discovered that music is your passion. It's what you want to do in your life. And knowing that you didn't have access to a lot of the things that are out there today, and even the things that I can see in your studio, right? Those aren't things that show up in a classroom. So were there things that, that you were, when you discovered for yourself that being a musician was the thing you wanted to do? How much of your outside life was involved in, there's the music practice and learning about instruments, and, that you had to do beyond what you were able to get in school? Because I know so much of that is kind of like, I think it's still that way today. And I think there's more access to things, but I know back when I was young, if we wanted to learn about music, a lot of it was done outside of class.
Yeah, you're right about that. It's better than it was. when you were younger, and I think you're a little older than I am. I'm like kind of after you, and then you have your students who are after us.
Right.
They have more access to tools than we ever had, for sure. All of this stuff I have here, this is all stuff any student could get or acquire or learn about. But yeah, probably they're not going to learn directly about unless it's a really specialized, maybe a high school or middle school. And there are some that have a really strong, at least in terms of the traditional school model, a strong cultural arts focus where they might have like a keyboard lab. Some schools I work with are starting to build studios in their school, but the technology they're using, and this is another conversation, but generally speaking, all this technology is just computer based. These are some specialized, specific tools I'm using, but everything I'm doing with them, you could do, for example, and some of your students listening to this podcast right now probably know this. You can do some of this stuff, all of this stuff technically, with a device they might already have access to, whether that's a Mac, a PC, a Chromebook, or in this case, for those listening, I'm using an iPad right now, or showing an iPad, and I'm paging through different virtual instruments. So that sampler that I just pulled up in front of me that we use to record your voice, well, here's a virtual sampler. It's really the same thing as the one in front of me. This is just software running in a big case with physical keys, and this is the software running in the tablet with virtual keys that I can play. I can just sing, yeah, yeah, vocal riff, just sing that, yeah, yeah. So same thing, I can edit this, yeah, yeah, grab that little end of it there, yeah, change the pitch. We can do that looping stuff that we were just doing the your voice, Mr. D.
And you're doing all that on an iPad right now.
Yeah.
Just on an app on an iPad. Okay, that's cool. So,
exactly. So
think about our homeschool students, right? And how many of them are at home and they have access to iPads and they have access to these things. Mm-hmm. But I think for them, it's like, where do you find it? How do you know what to look for, right?
Right. So that's where having a class helps, which yes, we could talk about. Maybe we do classes with your students at some point.
I think that's coming.
Yeah, well, I do a school assembly that kind of intros some of these concepts, but actually to learn and get in there and do it, you'll want to. You definitely have to look where to find these things. It's easier than it used to be. There are people like me now that show you how to do this stuff. I work with, well, mostly the way I've been working with students is by workshops, which is really the same kind of thing as a course. But yeah, I think you have to kind of look outside of traditional school generally until you get to college. At college level, there are numerous programs that are now available online that used to only be in person 30 years ago. Like, for example, Berklee College of Music in Boston was a contemporary, or is a college with contemporary or degrees in contemporary music from, I believe, sound design, composition, songwriting. That kind of stuff didn't really exist when we were younger. And certainly this technology in this form obviously did not exist. iPads weren't around until 10 years ago. Right. So for me, as a young person, I spent a lot of time outside of school. And as you say, I liked music. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do in the music industry, but there definitely were not traditional routes to getting to be, at least I wasn't aware of them. How do you become a music producer? That was not a degree you could get. Nowadays, you can find colleges and trade schools, and to be honest, to be frank, in my lane, I don't work for like a company, or I don't like work for Marvel or work for Disney. I'm an independent music producer, so that means I find my own gigs as a composer. So to get to that route, I have to do a lot of my own legwork. I have to go out and find those clients and build my skills up and build my career up in that way. But to get there, I've got to tap into resources that me looking around for let me rewind here. Actually, what I mean to say is that, like, I have to go out and find that work on my own. Students have to probably put some legwork in to find how they can use these tools that they have. There are lots of free tutorials and stuff you can find on YouTube, which are very helpful. We live in a really cool time now where people share a lot of information, or they build channels where they're demonstrating stuff. But now, more than ever before, there are definitely more structured ways you can find this information. And part of that, Mr. D, is because some of these things just didn't exist when we were younger. Not just the technology, but like trailers for movies weren't really a thing until not the way that we know them now. Like if you watch a Wakanda Forever trailer right now, that movie's coming out next week, I think. And if you watch like a 30-second TV spot for it, the way that trailer is made is the music that's used, how it's edited and put together, is not the way that they were done 10 years ago, certainly not 20 years ago. And in fact, how are you watching that trailer? It's probably on YouTube. A lot of people watch YouTube instead of like live TV. That's me. I don't even watch commercials anymore. So all the trailers and commercials I see are digital on YouTube, or they're on TikTok in my feed or my Twitter feed. So a lot's changed, and with that change has brought a lot of really cool tools for your students to use, but also lots of really cool careers that they could look forward to having, utilizing these tools, doing what I'm doing, or doing any of the other, performing any other roles along the way, and like making a trailer. There's an editor who makes the trailer. There's a music supervisor who's helping coordinate between me or me and my publisher and the editor and the movie studio. Maybe you're making the movie. You're a sound designer. You're a screenwriter. You're an animator. Maybe you're making a game. You're an animator in the game. You're a coder. You're a conceptual artist. You're a producer on the game. You're a screenwriter. I mean, there are thousands of careers that are all creative, many of which use these tools in various forms. Some of it's visual, some of it's audio, some of it's a combination.
Yeah,
a lot of really cool stuff you can do.
It's like you're going down this list, and I'm thinking people that are interested in this world, in the music world, in the production world, just in the media world, right?
Yeah.
Everything you were just saying points to a career path, right? So it's so great, and you all, you get all interacting. There's something else that you said earlier, and I think this is really important for young people if they're getting interested in this career path. And I think any career path, especially if you're going to be someone who you work for yourself and you have that business sense, that entrepreneurial sense, is that it's not just about being a skilled tradesman, and you have skills in your trade, but there is the marketing, and there is the networking, and there is getting out and getting to know people and finding out what they need. Like you said, you don't actually work for Marvel. Marvel hires you to do work for them. But
essentially, yeah.
And they need to know how to find you. But then there's agents, and there's producers, and there's this whole network of people that you get to work around in. It's really amazing. And I think that being able to find your way into that's a huge thing to navigate, right?
Yeah, it is. But that's part of becoming a professional. You find your tribe. You find the people that are doing what you're doing, or who could connect you to others. And it's every, especially I would say, because of the world I know, especially content creation, whether it's filmmaking, the print art, the print media world, or graphic design, or web design, web development, or for me, music production and things related to that. Each one of those groups has their own community of fellow creators and resources you can tap into. But even with us saying all this, there's another thing I want to point out to your students. When I was 12 or 10, when I started piano lessons, I had no idea I was going to be doing something in music. I didn't even like piano lessons because of the practicing part. I just didn't want to, I like playing around on it, but I was not I wasn't one of those people that was 5 going, I'm going to be a composer. It didn't even occur to me. In fact, I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was 10. So I had other creative interests. I didn't know what I wanted to be. So my point of saying this is, it wasn't until I was older and already working, actually as a signed recording artist, that I kind of was like, this is what I'm going to do. I mean, I found something that was cool. It still wasn't quite right though. I still had to find the thing that I really gelled with. And that took some time for me. It's different for everyone. The point is, I didn't know that I wanted to be doing this when I was younger. I could have also gone the comic book graphic design route if I'd followed that path. But it's important to try different things. And even if you don't end up, my point is, if you don't end up being a professional music producer or composer or songwriter or recording engineer or graphic design artist or web developer, whatever, it's still a way to express yourself. And that's a very important part of becoming a full human. It's not all just about math and science and engineering. Those are important things. But there is what's also really important for every human, because everyone likes music, right? And a lot of people get a lot of great enjoyment out of just expressing themselves through creating something. You know, eventually, if you find that I want to, quote unquote, monetize this, I want to be able to spend my life doing this as a career because it's fun and also get paid money for it. That's called having a career. But you can also do it for fun, to express yourself. And on the music side, definitely there is a documented, long-term documented correlation between practicing an instrument, learning about music, and doing well in other subjects. They work hand in hand. So just by being someone who creates and learning about that process and practicing, it enhances your success in math and science and other subjects. In addition to making you a fun person to be around.
There you go, right? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, as I think back to all those trumpet lessons, like, I'm glad I did them, right? Because here we are today. And I was much like you. It was like, you know, it didn't dawn on me when I was in school that I would be doing what I'm doing today in the education world, you know? So I'm just and it is my passion and it is what I love. But all right, so we're going to do one of your assemblies, and so we're going to do one of your assemblies for our students. It's coming up in mid-November, so we're going to be getting the message out here pretty soon to our students. So they may or may not, even by the time they hear this, they either have already found out about it or they're just finding out about it. And as we do this, just tell a little bit about when they come to this session. So they're going to be able to come in, then we're going to all meet online, and we get to do an assembly with you. And for those that end up or that are not able to attend the assembly, when people come to an assembly with you, what would they expect? Because I have a feeling people are like, they're going to be heading to your website to figure out, how do I book an assembly with Brent? I want to do this too.
Yeah, well, I think let's look at a little piece of video that shows a little bit about what my assembly is. So for the students to look forward to something or to see a little bit of what it is, it's some of what we were just doing with Mr. D. Like, we just made a sound. That was fun. Right. Let's learn a bit more about it. That's kind of the idea of the assembly. This is a good kind of quick little overview of what your students can expect. I'm Brent Daniels, and I'm a music producer. I created my virtual music technology program as a vehicle to show students how they can use the devices in their everyday lives to make music too. And because we're doing this over the internet, I can bring any school with any size audience from anywhere in the world into my studio here for a close-up look at the tools and techniques that they can use to make amazing things. We're doing on-the-fly sound design with remote, real-time contributions from the audience. And I'm building a track from the ground up throughout the program before their very ears and eyes with the input from their mics. And every student has the best seat in the house for this process.
I could not believe that somebody so incredibly gifted with music and gifted with technology was able to blend that all together in an assembly that would speak to kids. And so it seemed like it was such the perfect combination of introducing them to music in a way that really spoke to them and was interesting to them. It was also really full of a lot of great learning. He really goes over the different types of instruments that can be used, the different technologies that he uses, how it incorporates math and learning and opportunities to take those skills and build them into future careers. And all of that made it such an incredible presentation. And our students really loved it.
That's awesome.
And your students will really love it too. Well, I mean, we always say, I just know from I've worked with students as part of my vocation as a career music producer and basically content creator and musician is also working with students like the students in your network and in the audience here, because I was where they are. I was someone who was looking for, I like this stuff. What can I do with it? Where can I learn more about it? I love showing students how they can get into this stuff too, whether they end up doing it for a career like I do, or they're just using it to express themselves. I think it's a really, really, definitely for me, it's really fun to share this with students. We always have a good time. But it's important for me to share it too, because I was once where they are. And I think the more people that learn how to create and express themselves, the better planet we have. So I love sharing this with students, like the students in your audience. We're going to have a great time. I've done these shows with students for many, many years. And I love that now, because of technology, I have a way where I can work with students like yours who are at home or wherever they're at, as long as they have an internet connection and a computer. We're interacting and we're having this assembly, which is going to be a ton of fun.
I can't wait. Oh, it's so exciting. And, just hearing what they're now, for people that maybe you're listening in and you're not inside of doing programs with us, no problem, because you can go to Brent's website and find out how you can have him in your area. And when I say in your area, whether you're doing it in person or online is so much easier, because when you're online, everybody gets to be with Brent all at the same time, and he's in his studio. So you get to see all of his stuff right where he is. And I think what's great about that is that seeing your home studio is it lets people know that they can do that too, especially if they're doing things from home and doing different things like that. So it's brentdanielsmusic.com. For our students in the Mr. D Math program, well, you're going to find out more about Brent and what he does. And, I'm just super excited to look and see. This will be the first time we're doing something like this. So we're going to look and see how we can do more, because for me, music is a big part of my life and my family's life. And bringing it into the world is just, the more ways we can introduce this young people and give them some really great structure in how to find career paths and how to find out, that they're not out there wandering around kind of on their own, trying to find it on their own, that we've got some guidance for them. And Brent, just for what you do already, just thank you for doing that. And thanks for, for living life the way that you love your life. And that's just amazing, because the more people that we can introduce to young people that live life that way, the more we let them know, yeah, this is the way that we want you to live too. So, so I just really appreciate you taking time to do this. I'm super excited about what we're getting ready to do. Yeah. And there's much more to come.
Me too. I'm so excited. Thanks for having me today, and thanks for all those words you said. That's wonderful. It's my pleasure, and it's really, I feel honored to be able to serve students in this way, and have that be part of the way that I express myself and enjoy my life. Making music and hearing it in a trailer, or hearing a song that I've done play in a movie theater or be part of a TV show or movies is thrilling. After spending many years working at it, but I'm equally thrilled and honored to be able to work with students like the Students You Network or any of the schools I've been working with for over 25 years now, because it's just so much fun. And I just think that the students listening to your podcast today, all of you in the audience, you're the future, and you're all creative and amazing stars in your own right. So I love to see how people blossom and use this technology and the skills that they have to do stuff that I never would have thought of, like really cool, creative, fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to working with your students. That website you said, that's my website that has my professional work on it. And on the website also, there is a longer overview of that video I was just showing you, if students want to check that out. There's a shortcut to it, which is brentdaniels.live. That kind of will take you directly to, that'll take you directly to the video and some videos about the program that they're going to experience. If any parent or any other teacher that's watching that wants to talk about any more about specifically having the program outside of Mr. D and what we're doing with your audience, they could just reach out to me through the contact link on that page.
That's great.
The whole site's accessible from there, and the rest of the site is really all of my trailers that I work on. So if students want to see more trailers I've done for like Black Widow or Black Panther or Hawkeye or anything else, all the trailers are on there, so you can check out my work there too.
That's so great. We'll have all this linked up in the show notes so you can get right into it, click to it, and go. Brent, I will see you soon. Thanks again for being here. Everyone, thanks for tuning in to A Plus Parents, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Mr. D.
Yeah.